Okay, so my cell phone has a line. Work. Wow. Okay, so the camera should pick it up, and that looks like it's yellow on the thing there. If anybody out there on the internet, if this sound is distorted, just send me a text message and then we'll fix it. Thanks for coming. Anybody that wants a book signed that I haven't signed yet, my mind is mush right now. Just come and grab me afterwards, and I'll make sure that you get your book signed. And I know I've signed some, and I don't remember which ones I've signed and which ones I haven't. Margot reminded me of a story. There goes my 3-year-old. There goes my 3-year-old grandson. If you get a telephone call from a computer, and the call rings, you answer the phone, and you get this recorded voice that says, "Press 1 if you're home today. Press 1 if your husband's available to talk to us." Just hang up. And I mean, you don't need to be polite to a computer. It's a computer. And then if you get a call from a computer pretending to be a person and you're not really sure because the technology today works so well, you sometimes can't tell because they have these natural language emulators today. Here's what you do. The phone call comes in. "Hi, I'm Gail, and you're welcome. We find that you qualified for a $5 bazillion line of credit today. Just click here. Here's what you do. Say, Gail, this is way cool. By the way, who won the World Series last year?" And Gail will probably respond with, "I'm sorry, but I can't accept personal questions." And say, "Gail, what personal question?" And then she'll hang up on you. You don't need to be polite to the computer. That just hit my mind, Mark. Thanks for the reminder. Tom. Did Tom Herbert walk up and just for a second? This book wouldn't be possible without Tom. Tom is the head dude at Beaver Pond Press and Ignite. So what you do? And right there where they can see, see, that's what you can see on the webcam. This is our international audience. Thanks, Tom. Want to give a half-hour speech? I call on a lot of customers. I do IT support and security for a living, and I build firewalls. I'm the guy on the other end of all those cell phone things that you do that runs all the servers and store all that data. I'm one of the guys that do that. So I go out to customers and I call on them, and I start to talk about security. And it doesn't take very long for somebody to say, "We're not running a national security operation here. I don't have any data that anybody cares about." And so this next slide is for you. If that clicky thing works, click on the slide. This is for you. That's who you are when you tell me that. What you don't know can hurt you, and hopefully after we get done today and we have this recorded and we have people across the internet watching, hopefully you'll be a little bit more aware of the dangers than you used to be. Is it any surprise at all that there's bad guys out there on the internet trying to mess with us? In our world today where everybody's connected with everybody else, I can click some buttons and I can interact with somebody on the other side of the planet. I do it all the time. Tina, that's a lot of what I'm doing at 4 o'clock in the morning when I should be in bed. Did you know that 4 o'clock in the morning here is something like 6 o'clock tomorrow evening in Australia somewhere? They speak English in Australia as a native language, too. I get this a lot, all the time. "Just tell me what I need to know in 25 words or less." And my response is just jump off the cliff and learn as you go. I'm not going to tell you everything you need to know about security in 25 words or less. It doesn't work. But by the way, security, all presentations start out with definitions. So what is security? This is how you remember this. Just remember these letters, CIA. It fits, right? It's security. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. There's 3 pieces to it. Security is a study of just about everything. So we won't study just about everything today. We'll just do a little teeny tiny bit. Remember CIA, and most people think about confidentiality the most. Like when you have an identity theft problem, that's confidentiality. But security and availability are big deals too, and we'll talk about those at some other time, so I don't bore you to death. Here are a few
a few boring statistics. And the one I want to point out the most is the one on the bottom that I put in yellow. 1 out of every 8 websites on average has got some kind of malware problem. So you go out and visit the web, and you go to your favorite sports website, and you look up the sports scores, and that sports website sells a bunch of ads. That's how that sports website can sell their ads for free, or can show you their content for free, just like TV. The difference is all those ads that do the sports scores, that do the ads on the sports score website, those are all programmed by somebody. So let's say a programming team in the Philippines is a little bit sloppy, and they put together an ad that solicits you for softball bats, let's say. So they do this sloppy ad for softball bats, you click on that ad, you inadvertently download some malware in your computer, and now some guy in Tehran, Iran owns you because you clicked on the wrong ad from the wrong sports score from the wrong website. It happens, and it happens more than what people think. So the message of that is to be careful. And there's a whole bunch of other statistics that are boring, and they're the statistics you'd expect to see. There's lots of attacks and lots of bad stuff out there on the internet. So who are these bad guys? Who are the guys out there? Who are the guys out there that are trying to mess with us? Who are these guys? Anybody know anybody? What do they look like? Where do they live? I like the eyebrows, Martin. What do they look like? Well, I have a few of them in the book Bullseye Breach. The characters that I put together are stereotypical. Is that the right word? They have personalities and backgrounds and stuff, just like everybody else. Bahir Mustafa is one of my favorites. He's one of the first people I invented. Bahir was born about a year and a quarter ago. Bahir is a system admin at a university in Tehran, Iran. His parents, his dad was an American oil executive and his mother was from Iran. Then the revolution happened in 1979 and Dad had to go home. Mom's pregnant with Bahir. He grew up, he hated America, he hated the West, and he hated Muslims too. He hates pretty much everybody, but he likes money, and he's really smart. So he works in this university computing center, and from there he figured out a way to manage a botnet. A botnet is a bunch of computers all around the world, and he controls them. He came up with various ways for these computers to connect to a website or otherwise get polluted, and now those computers check in with a command and control center in Iran periodically, and they run programs that he tells them to run. So he controls a network of computers, thousands all around the world. How many think that's just too wild to be believable? You guys can't see this across the internet, but every single hand in the room enthusiastically went up. Okay. There's a lot of news stories about botnets and FBI takedowns. That stuff is real, and I'll show you an example here in a few minutes. Frank Urbino was one of my first characters. This guy is a piece of work. He lives in Florida. He advertises himself as the king of email marketing. Have you guys seen the king of email marketing ads anywhere? He has slick back hair and he wears all the nicest suits and he hangs out at all the best nightclubs in Miami. Didn't always used to be that way. He was a small-time con artist in the late 90s, and he felt guilty from conning people out of their last dollars. And so he went into a library and he found a porn site. He was going to forget all of his troubles looking at porn sites. And they wanted an email address. And if he didn't have an email address, they could give him one for free. And that triggered an idea in his mind. He spent a whole lot of years developing it, and now he's the king of email marketing. If you have an email address everywhere, he's got software that can harvest those from websites, and he can reach out and try to predict what your interests are and what things you like and what hot buttons, what things you might tend to respond to, who's your cell phone carrier. He'll carry all kinds of data about you, and he'll find ways to get into your head and fool you into clicking on something you shouldn't click on. That's our buddy Frank. Oh, it gets worse. There's more. The way bulk email works, when I send an email, it goes to an email server that goes to a relay server. That relay server sends it out to all the recipients. The challenge is, in the United States, we don't like bulk email. We don't like relay servers that relay out bulk email like that. It's heavily regulated, and ISPs get shunned if they do that in the U.S. But in China, that's a different story. In China, In China, it's pretty much the Wild West. You've read about how communists hate profit? Communists hate profit only if the wrong communists are the ones making the profit. So you share the profit with your stepdad, who happens to be a mid-level bureaucrat in the Chinese government, and you share your contacts. They'll look the other way while you do bulk email relays for guys like Frank Urbino. So if Frank wants to send email to a million marks, a million victims, he'll email it through Wei Jiande in China, and she'll send it out to the rest of the world. Wei's mom now, she made a lot of money. Wei Jiande's mom lives in Bolivia, somewhere at an undisclosed location, and she runs an internet cafe in Shanghai, also from an undisclosed location, somewhere in China. This stuff is all fiction, but it's also realistic. Turlock Flanagan is one of my most colorful characters. He used to work for the IRA, the Irish Republican Army. In the 1998 when the Troubles ended in the Good Friday Accords, after that he was spying on the British. Turns out the British were in a building and they had a Wi-Fi network connecting everybody together. They had all kinds of security except for their Wi-Fi network. And so Turlock was sitting in a pub across the street, and he broke into their Wi-Fi network because they had easy-to-guess passwords. And before too long, Turlock knew as much about British troop deployments as the British did. That information made him a marked man. He's in bed with his wife and his family one day. The bullets fly through the window, and his wife's dead, and his family's dead. He can't stand it anymore. He spent the last several years in an alcoholic haze. The only thing he cares about now is Irish whiskey and money. And there's a Russian that he's friends with, too. And that Russian is Ivan Tarsky. Ivan Tarsky is a mob boss from St. Petersburg, Russia. Everything you think about a mob boss, that's what Ivan is. He likes fast cars and loose women, fast women. He likes all that mob boss stuff. And he figured out that the internet is a great thing to exploit, and he's come up with ways to do exploits. One way that he found he found a program that would dig into point-of-sale systems, and he figured out a way to exploit that program such that he could steal millions of credit cards. Now, how does a Russian mob boss meet an alcoholic from Belfast, Ireland, and make a deal with him to do attacks? That's where Fyodor comes in. Fyodor was an up-and-coming star in the early 2000s, and Ivan sent him to college in the West. Fyodor met Turlock and introduced Turlock to Ivan, and they all got to be one not-so-happy family. And then there's you'll meet a few others in the story, too. You'll meet a credit card forger in San Francisco, and you'll meet a 15-year-old kid, and Sarah's going like that. So all right, enough characters. Ivan Tarsky wants to make money. How's he going to make money? He's got this program that he found from a kid in Ukraine that can steal data out of point-of-sale systems. How's he going to make money? How's he going to exploit that? He has to figure out a victim. He has to find those point-of-sale systems first so he can exploit them, right? So how does he find it? How does he find the POS systems? Well, he probes wide. He looks for websites that he can compromise, where he can steal passwords from websites, and then he uses